Well, what's up? How you doing? It's me, Adam Post. Hey, I want to do a quick update stream, and that's what this is. It's quick. I'm updating. It's a stream. Um, I was just on Clayton's channel. Clayton is awesome. Clayton and his brother, and we were talking about oh my god, a whole bunch of stuff, things that I've been working on, things that they're into, and things that they're doing. And I want to give people an update because a couple people asked me like, well, are you okay? So am I going to be going on other Comicsgate channels or other streams? You know, what am I doing? There's like a little drama about this, a little drama about that. There's really no drama. There's not that much excitement. The excitement is I'm focusing on the mermaids. We got to get the mermaids done. Chris Rankabot is doing an amazing job. Hey, Jay Lee, what's up, my man? So Chris Rankowitz has just about 10 pages left of layout edits, and we're just finalizing putting the color book together. The black and white 100-page book of the making of book is now 112 pages. That is actually with Mixam. It's at the printer, and they're just waiting for my final go-ahead to print it. I'm probably going to print them both at the same time. But so we're finishing that. And a couple people have asked me, though, they were asking like, are you like not involved with Comicsgate? Is there some drama going on? Because there's Kiwi Farms drama about Adam Post and being on Ethan's channel and stuff like that, Comicsgate Live, and Comic Artist Pro Secrets. And so I want to update people because people are like, oh my God, you're not leaving Comicsgate, are you? Okay, so I don't leave publishing comics. I've been publishing comics for way too long to leave publishing comics. I think yet, though I'm over 50 now, like 51, though I am 51, it's most likely I'll be publishing comics a very, very long time. So yes, I'm publishing comics. Yes, everyone likes me and nobody's mad at me. But I'm going to kind of focus on just my channel and a new project that I'm working on, which I'll tell you a little bit about. And then if Ethan likes it, if everybody else likes it, then I'll start to be around other people's channels promoting it. Yeah, it's always, oh my God, Jay Lee, don't turn 50. Do whatever you got to do. Hey, Billy, good to see you, man. It's always good to know and remember that, Comicsgate, it's open for everybody. Everybody can do whatever they want to do in Comicsgate. Channels are very proprietary, and we're all trying to figure out it's like real estate. Like, what are we going to do with our channel? What's a good fit for our channel? And Ethan, in totally respectful, totally great way, messaged me and he was like, hey, Adam, look, I think it's important that you have your own projects to promote that you're passionate about, if you're going to be on my channel. And I feel the same way exactly. And as I explained to Ethan, I've been working on my own character that I'm writing all on my own for the last couple of months that I've been working on to release and let people know about, but only after I've delivered what I promised on the Mermaids. So it's something that I've been working on. Hey, Soap Maker, what's up? Good to see you. Yeah, if anybody's turning 50, what I want to tell you is have all your fun before you turn 50. No, go crazy, no matter what age you are. Very important. So, so the thing of it is it's not like there's no problem. There's no public thing going on. What's going on is I created College of the Dead and the Mermaids to publish. As web comics as well as print comics. College of the Dead 1 made it out as a web comic. College of the Dead 2 did not. The Mermaids made it out as like a web comic for like 10 panels. And I was like, forget it. I don't want to do web comics. And those took years to develop, both of them. Mermaids took even more work than College of the Dead. And just a massive amount of work. And I am never going to, and I don't want to ever release stuff again that I am not really proud of. I'm very proud of all the College of the Dead material. I'm very proud of the Mermaids. But, I've done comics like low budget comics because there's a market for it. It's a business to publish comics. Back in the 1990s, all sorts of comics in the 1990s. I gave some great guys their first published work, like Adam Polina, But I also hired some people that were terrible. And I had some people that were good that I made them work terrible because we had tight deadlines and stuff. It's part of running the studio. But yeah, we actually there's a video on my channel. It's like one of my first videos I uploaded showing our Personality Comics studio. And it was incredibly, a thrill to have a studio. So anyways, yeah, like that's just generally what my update is so I am publishing those books. I'm publishing my products. I hope to produce a College of the Dead 3 if that's what people want. I hope to produce a Mermaids 2. The artist is ready to go. I know my writer is ready to go, but I got to deliver it first and see if people like it. Because this is a thing in publishing, guys. Publishing is a hit business. You can't pretend it's not a hit business. It doesn't matter. Like there have been major music recording artists, for example, or major movies that have been put out, like Arnold Schwarzenegger's The Last Action Hero. They spent a fortune on The Last Action Hero. It didn't work. It didn't make money. Not because they didn't want it to. That's publishing. That's entertainment. You don't get to just put out stuff that every time you put out a new idea, it's bigger than the next. What you do get to do is you get a chance to make a cool idea that you really want to make, like what I did with College of the Dead, like what I did with the Mermaids. And hopefully I get to make a Mermaids 2. I really want to, but it's going to depend on how well it's received. You must respect the audience and you have to respect the process. Otherwise, frankly, you're making vanity press projects. There's a lot of vanity movies. There's vanity books, vanity comics. If you're not familiar with the term, Google vanity press and you'll see like there's a lot of people making their own stuff any which way they want to make it for their own purposes. And you could do that, but if you're going to do it professionally, you do what people like, and then you give them more of what they want. It's just a simple process. Brian, you're still hoping for G.I. Jackrabbits. Let me just say hi to some more people. Alice Ghost, good to see you. Hey, Reddy G, what's up, my man? Red, I got to have you on the channel. I'm sorry, man. I haven't been streaming consistent. I'm going to try to do better and get back to that. Great to see you, Past Master Dan. Great to see you, Alex Rogan Ghost. Always good to see you. I told you I was going to message you and I didn't. I apologize for that. What's this about? Drama? I know drama. There's some Kiwi Farm stuff or whatever. It was just, it's not a real thing. Nothing has changed. There's no difference to what anybody's doing. Brian is hoping for G.I. Jackrabbits. I worked with Professor Geek, who has a great channel, very talented writer and editor. He knows archetypes. He knows stories. He helped me kind of reconstruct G.I. Jackrabbits into something new. And we did co-write it together, although I'm going to give him 65% and maybe give me a third on that one. But I created the parts that I created in addition to the writing parts with some very cool fundamental stuff. I'm very excited about it. But it's a big project. And I got to tell you, I'm really excited about doing a single project, like with a single character. I haven't done that since I did Chromium Man, probably. I mean, not with the same intensity and focus as when we did Chromium Man back in like freaking 1994 or something like that, which is, that's not yesterday. That's like a crazy long time ago. Carry that weight. So Brian, it's going to happen. It's going to be kind of reworked probably a little bit. But I have to, it's just kind of one step at a time. I got to get this other character book out first. Carrier Wait says, take a look at building the Odyssey channel. They have live streaming now. I heard they had live streaming Rumble too. Trending organic based on views. Okay. Very cool. Thanks for the tip. And yeah, I want to check that out. John, good to see you, my man. John, it's Adam Post live. Adam Post lives and Adam Post is live. Yeah, I'm going to stream a lot more, guys. I need to get into that. Shadowhawk, great to see you again, my man. How you doing? None your business. Drama. There's a thin line between ego and arrogance. Whichever one's bad, that's me. Whichever one. I mean, the thing of it is if you know what you know and you kind of stick with what you know and you know what you're good at, that's your thing. And I was on Clayton's channel, Clayton Barton, who has the How to Draw Comics channel. Great people. And it was a little, whatever. But I was telling him about one of my favorite books by, I'm going to say like nearly favorite author, this guy, Richard Bach. He wrote a book called Illusions, and Jonathan Livingston Seagull. Illusions is a whole other story. Genius. Brilliant. Beautiful book. Hey, leg kick. What's cooking, my man? What it is. Anywho, so Jonathan Livingston Seagull's fascinating because it tells a story. I'm going to do this one quick. It's about seagulls, but it's you too. It relates to you. Trust me. For a minute. It's about a seagull that's with a flock of other seagulls, and they're chilling on a beach. And one seagull is like looking at the other seagulls like, these guys, all they ever want to do is they want to like search around for food. And like they live such a meager existence because all they're doing is just trying to survive eating food. What kind of existence is that? I can fly. I want to fly. I'm a seagull. I got to fly. So Jonathan Livingston Seagull, he wants to fly. He starts to fly. And everyone else around him is like, you're crazy. What are you doing like flying? Like enough with the flying. You're supposed to just fly to get food. And Jonathan, the Livingston Seagull, Jonathan, he liked to fly just for the beauty of flight. That was his creative expression. And he became obsessed with flying and learning to fly faster and faster. So what started to happen was the seagull would, it's just a real story. It's about seagulls, I know, but still, I relate, okay? You can relate too. He kind of found his own way by doing his own thing. The other seagulls thought he was crazy. Eventually, he started to fly and fly and fly. He didn't even care how far he was flying. He flew to a faraway island where he did ultimately find a few other seagulls and some food. And then he flew with those guys who were like with him, but he was so crazy about flying that he didn't associate with them anymore. He just kept flying and flying to the point where he didn't eat. He went too fast and he died. But he wound up a ghost seagull. And as a ghost seagull, he was with other ghost seagulls. It was sort of like an Obi-Wan Kenobi thing. You know, it's like a May the Fourth be with you kind of thing. But the point was he found his right people to be with by being who he was and really doing his thing. Beautiful book. I used to give it to girls sometimes. They loved it too. Did it work? I don't know. But definitely, Jonathan Livingston Seagull is a hell of a cool book. Yes, Pestmaster Dan, I was with Los Hermanos Barton Bros. Some say he ran away. Oh, the Jonathan Livingston Seagull did not run away. He just loved to fly. He just did his thing. He flew. But the ones who said he ran away were the ones that were just eating food off the ground like that. I just want to see what Rob Muerto is saying. It's got to be important. When the seagulls follow the trawler, it's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Let that be a lesson to all of you. Let that all be a lesson to you. You probably did read it. It's a cool story. His other book, Illusions, is another phenomenal book, The Adventures of a Reluctant Messiah. I'm not like big into this is like the Adam Post Book Club or anything like that. But I'm the kind of guy where it's like a 3 or 4 or 5 books, basically. Like I am those people. I am those 5 books. And that's my mentality. I've really kind of taken it to them. Speaking of seagulls, don't forget Shadow of the Kraken by the very great and talented Vinny Tortomella at that Indiegogo project. Thank you, Shadowhawk, for sharing that. So what am I working on now? It's a seagull related. No, it's not seagull related whatsoever. Red Gaze, what do you say? I was once attacked by seagulls for my French fries. Terrifying experience. Red Gaze. I think in some small way, you were probably asking for it. Let's be honest. Floating around with your French fries and all that. It could have been those lesser seagulls that were concerned with food. What about pigeons? Pigeons are important as well. Oh, there's Jim, the pigeon guy. Pigeon Jim. So what I have been working on is, I am working on it's so funny because Clayton was asking about. Clayton's like, Adam, you seem reluctant. I'm like, well, look, I am reluctant. I'm reluctant to take on the task of writing. Oh, Alien Xenomorph. Thank you for that. Are you mad EVS booted you from his platform? I am not mad that I'm not on Ethan's show. I think I'm not on Ethan's show. I don't know if it's temporary. It could be permanent. I think it's temporary. I think it's just Ethan, the way he expressed it to me was Ethan was like, look, Um, I want you to, I don't know, essentially it was just the same thing I think he put on QB Farms. He's just essentially saying like, hey, I think you should be on the show, or you should, what did he say? I don't know. He was very nice about whatever he said. But essentially it's just like, look, he wants comic creators on his show. It's not a show for really comic book publishers or packagers. I didn't say that, but I don't know. So no, I think it was, I'm not, as I told EVS or anybody else I talked about it, I'm like, oh, I haven't done a stream about it. So let me do a stream about it, because I was just talking about it, Clayton. I'm like, oh yeah, that was like a week ago now. So yeah, I don't know. As soon as Ethan was like, look, I think you should not come on the show until you're creating your own content yourself. Like you're writing your own thing. And I was like, well, I am writing my own thing now. It's like, okay, cool. Let me see it, when you're done with the Mermaids, which is like, that was my plan anyway. So yeah, that's kind of the thing of it. But Ethan is, he is a great creator. He's been great to me, super generous. And no one is entitled to be on anybody else's show. It's like you either be a good guest or not a good guest. And when you put together a show and you have a panel, you're trying to accomplish something, with how the panel is designed and what it is that you're doing. So there's a pressure to generate like a whole vibe to the show. So yeah, I mean, for me, it's been cool too. Like I got a good push on College of the Dead Book 1, College of the Dead Book 2. We funded so many more times of College of the Dead Book 1. I mean, we did close College of the Dead Book 1 with like 5,300 or something. And then the campaign for College of the Dead 2 closed at like, what was it? Well, no. All right, let me answer that. All right, College of the Dead 2 did a lot better. It did like 25,000, which is like 500% increase. Because I was on a lot of shows, and I was on Ethan's show a bit, and we sold some on his show. But honestly, the thing you have to understand too, like being on other people's shows, it's easy for me to have someone on and off a show for like a half an hour, but going on to someone else's show and ask, and having them promote your stuff, if they don't believe in it, then it starts to become hard and work. And honestly, you can't ask someone to endorse your work unless you're really passionate about it and unless the other person really likes it. So I'm even trying to be careful when I have people on, because people get the wrong idea, when you have other people on. Alien Xenomorph follows up with, Ethan has Ultron on all the time. Must be me. Well, honestly, Peter's his own. Everyone's unique. Peter's his own publisher. Peter's his own entity. Peter's an artist as well, and Peter's publishing new comics, every month. I would not. Peter and I are very different people, and what Peter is also, constantly engaged on Twitter. He's also constantly being attacked. He's been swatted, and everybody's in love with Peter, and he really carries his own weight. And I think also too, just being practical about it, I probably was too big of a presence on a show for having such a small book. I'm going to say too, like if a campaign is not doing at least $25,000 on its own, that person should not be associated with the biggest Comicsgate channel. I told Ethan that too on his show months ago with College of the Dead. Oh, really? Aliens, uniforms, the troll pays the troll. I don't think that's bad question. Thank you, Chuck. I don't think those are bad questions. No, it's fair to say. But you don't belong on, the #1 Comicsgate channel unless you've got a campaign that's doing 25,000 or better, and unless you're really passionate about that campaign. And it's not Ethan or anyone else's job to promote other people's campaigns. We all have to promote our own campaigns and make our own success. Oh, Alex Rogan Ghost thinks I was a good guest. I think I was a fantastic guest. The only thing is, the trick. Hey, Hex. The trick. Thank you very much for that, Alex Rogan's Ghost. The trick with being a guest on someone else's channel is, you should be a junior to their senior always. Like it's just the right dynamic. It's someone else's channel, and so. but we don't have producers or anything like that. So Ethan's been adding writers, which I think is very cool, to Comicsgate Live, and Mark Polton is there, Phil is there, Phil Diaz, great guys, great people that belong there. It makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. People also should be creating their own energy too. So anyway, it's kind of a feel. I mean, the thing too is where Ethan is, he's saying openly he's trying to get Dale Keown to do a project. He's doing a project with Dale Keown. I don't know. You never want to be like the guy where it's like, do you have to, as soon as the second Ethan brought up, like, look, you shouldn't be on the channel. I'm like, I agree. It's fine. I totally agree. Like, you don't want to ruin a show. I think sometimes too, I overplay how little I have to do with some of the creation of some of the stuff. Like I'll say like, oh, I didn't do anything on these comics. Like it's not true. I'm still editing the Mermaids. I created the Mermaids. I created College of the Dead. I created Chromium Man. I could never stop telling you all the stuff that I created. Not that I'm not bragging. It's just I've done so much comics work. I'll be doing comics for a very, very long time, and probably longer than most other people in CG, just because I've done so many. Why would I ever stop doing them ever again? Now that we have crowdfunding. Crowdfunding makes it so easy. Guys, I can't tell you. As hard as it is to crowdfund, and it's hard, and a lot of people don't have the success they need, and people lose money crowdfunding. But it's incredibly easier than before crowdfunding. There was a time it was very easy to publish black and white comics like in the 1980s. And then there's maybe one other little spot of time that it was good for independent publishing. After that time, for very small windows, it's been horrific. It's horrific. It's an incredible. I'm pretty fucking smart. Excuse my language. I actually really am. I know a lot about business. I know a lot about systems. I know a lot about negotiation. I know about sales. I know about recruitment, management, finance. I've been on the board of public companies. I'm not, there's a lot of people better than me at a lot of things, but I have a good business background, and I've raised money for businesses before. I could raise money for a comic book company, in no time if that's what I wanted to do. And I have raised money for one of my comic book companies. I had investors, sophisticated people that worked for, what the heck was it? Some retired executives from a cigarette company. That's Adam Trump. That said, I'm telling you, it's freaking hard to publish comics, especially outside of crowdfunding. So crowdfunding is really our anchor. If we want to publish, if we want to change comics, if we want to accomplish something, we're going to say, and we do say, oh, wow, Adam Unleashed? Yes, sort of. It's the Seagulls. No, if we want to say that what's going on with comics now is abhorrent, it's horrific. It's ridiculous to look at the big companies who don't care about money. All they care about is corrupting the content. It's not even about pushing the social agenda. I don't believe it is. I don't think that they're trying to push SJW themes in comic books for the purpose that they're going to convert anyone. They're not promoting propaganda. They're using the propaganda to murder the franchises and to murder the content. So comics used to be what was called a power fantasy, a male power fantasy. That's what they were designed to be, to make us feel like when I used to watch karate movies, then we would go out in the street afterwards and we'd have play karate fights and kick each other's ass. And that was the purpose of those karate movies. They were visceral. They were exciting. Comics used to be that. They used to be that before they were even like beautifully dynamic art. That's what they used to be. Male power fantasies, starting with that. And on top of that, they were designed editorially beautifully. And they were a unique medium to themselves. They were not just like one-off, visceral, and even beautiful looking books. You cared who the artists were, but you really cared about the history of the story and the character and the franchise. You cared about what it had behind it and what the future of the character was going to be. When Spider-Man changed his costume in Secret Wars #8, it was a big deal. It was when Spider-Man got married to Mary Jane, it was like at Yankee Stadium. They had an event like in person. It was news. It was a big, big deal. And it was a big deal when events would happen because of the structure of the editorial. Because there were people that really cared about comic books. Jim Shooter, Stan Lee, DC's people. I don't know DC's people by name all that well. I know Julie Schwartz was important. But there were these old men that cared that comics were done well. And it was their responsibility to do that. There were things that could not happen in storylines because it could upset the franchisees, because the licensees, excuse me. There were certain things that weren't allowed to be done in X-Men and Spider-Man comics. I know some of these stories firsthand. And it would be like, well, no, we can't show Spider-Man in this kind of situation. And then there was all this debate about, could you have a series like The Punisher? And the answer was no before the limited series, because he was an anti-hero. So, there was incredible concern for the characters and the editorial. And the truth is, after Shooter left Marvel, incredible artists came in, really and were there, and they leveraged their position. And it was incredible for comics. I mean, this is at least what I observed. And this is how I felt about it. Tom McFarlane was there. It was really Tom McFarlane was really number one. Incredible businessman, incredible dynamic artist, but not right for Spider-Man. Not right for Spider-Man. Not that he couldn't do an amazing Spider-Man that could never be replaced. The problem was that he could do an amazing Spider-Man that could never be replaced. That was his talent, and his dynamic approach to Spider-Man was the problem. It shattered the Marvel look. It shattered the Marvel style. And it was amazing for Todd McFarlane, and it was great for Marvel short term, but they blew all their credibility. There was no coherence anymore of what was a Marvel comic? Does this Spider-Man look like that Spider-Man? No, this is Todd McFarlane. He's amazing. And, that's great. But the challenge is, what does that do to the franchise of Spider-Man? It elevates Spider-Man, but only as long as Todd is working on it, because nobody's Todd McFarlane. No one can do what he can do. Adam Post 2024. I'm with you, brother. Zero Depressor says, Adam, aren't you happy we have Squirrel Girl now? No, I'm not happy we have Squirrel Girl. And I know you're asking that facetiously. Yeah, that could be. Yeah. Yes. Carry that weight. A team up with me and Don Chin. Don Chin is great people. He has a lot of publishing experience, and he outsold me almost, I think, every time. He knows his stuff, and he outproduced me on a lot of stuff. His quality was very high, at least what I saw. And we borrowed from each other. We take ideas from each other and copy each other. But that said, this is my thoughts now is, if people want me on their channels and, I'm a good guest, fantastic. If they don't, okay. People have been so generous with me. Ethan Van Sciver's been generous. John Mayall's been generous with me. F everybody else. No, everybody has been generous with me. The backers are incredible. I love Narwhal. Yeah. I don't know what his availability is. Any chance of collaboration with Narwhal? We'd have to talk. I want to ask him to do another cover for me on something I have coming up. It depends on his time and availability. But I would love to work with him on at least on a cover. I mean, his work is great. Everybody should subscribe to Narwhal and check out his $4.99. Is that what it's called? I think it is. I think I had him on to talk about it. At a post, I remember the hard times, the Nikes, the indie go to a printer and they got a pocket with a diamond saying no. Very rough. Guys, seriously. I mean, it's like that old story when they tell you oh, when I was a kid, we had to walk 15 miles in the snow. It's no, there's no walking in the snow necessarily, but it's a terrible business. I mean, the publishing, it can be so difficult that even when things were going well, it was okay, cool, things are going good now, finally. So let's get a couple more projects going. Let's get some more employees to help us. Because keeping in mind, we didn't have the same technology available for everyone to work remotely as easily, but still, let's get some office space like Brian Polito. Great example of a top-notch publisher. From back in the day, from the mid-90s to present, though he took some time off in between. Brian did have to bankrupt his first company, though. And they went out of business, unfortunately, in a bad situation for a lot of people. It's not because Brian's a bad guy. It's because it's a really, really rough business to publish comics in a professional office. It ain't easy. It's very hard. Crowdfunding is thinking about getting paid in advance, like months or a year before you have to produce a project. It's a gift from God that you backers provide to us creators and publishers that are putting these projects together, because we've never had it so incredibly easy as we have. And then to be able to promote for free on YouTube, to get exposure in comic stores, you advertise in Diamond's catalog from back in the day and other catalogs too that they had. You'd pay for that. And you would have to wait months to even see if you got any orders in. And they were also non-returnable orders, which is great. But what was it like before cellular? We also didn't have cell phones. Like, that's true. We really didn't. People didn't have cell phones. They didn't have a lot of technology. But the truth is, crowdfunding, it's never been like that before. But what I feel like is missing for us, and you guys might agree, you might not agree, is I don't just like College of the Dead. Awesome. I want to do College of the Dead 3. The full script is done. But we need iconic single characters. And someone really pointed that out to me. It was Adam Friended, who's always been a great friend to me, just like his name. But it's true. And I'm like, you know what? It's true. Since probably Chromia Man, I haven't created a single iconic character and really focused on a single iconic character that was really well written. And it's been like, the years go by fast, but it's like 25 years ago. It's like, it's a long time. But I still have the ability to do it. You have to just focus on it, and you do it. But we need an iconic character. The story has to be as good or better than the art. It's not okay to just have gorgeous art on stuff that I'm doing. That's my obligation. I have to show that my story can be as good as the art. I've gotten a lot of great compliments on the art that I'm doing. But when I publish it, the story's got to be as good as the art, because if it's not, you might look at the art and like it in like Mermaids or College of the Dead or whatever, but you're not going to remember it. It's not going to be relatable. It's not going to mean anything to you. It's just like having a piece of candy. It's like, all right, you had a piece of candy. I've got to do better, and that's, look, I'm putting a high standard on myself, because if I'm not contributing, then I'm taking away. And my contribution has to be really good story, single iconic, memorable character that people, can be recognizable, like genre-wise, but it's got to be unique. It's got to be really cool. Hex Harper says, here's a question. What's a goodie or backer reward that everyone includes in their campaign, but you don't particularly care for? It's an interesting question. I don't know. I think everyone likes trading cards, and mostly people do that. Johnny Cage says, back in my day, we had to draw with coal on the cave walls. It's very true. We didn't have, talk about drawing, like you couldn't do digital files. You didn't even want to see how stuff went to the printer. That was like another whole freaking story. So we have every advantage now. So like for me, publishing is a passion. I don't like to work. They had coal, Dan. Can you believe it? We didn't even have coal. Publishing is a passion. Having a concept and then working with the rest of the creative team and letting everybody, the thing is when you work with people, almost everybody has one good idea. I forgot whose channel I was on recently was talking about this, how Stan Lee, when he was working at Marvel, people would contribute ideas from the bullpen. An idea is fine, and like Silver Surfer was a great idea. That was Jack Kirby's idea. But Silver Surfer needed a story. You can't just be a guy on a surfboard and like, does Silver Surfer from a design standpoint, tell me what you think of the chat. I think Silver Surfer looks incredibly cool. He does. I think his story is as cool or more cool than his visual design. His service to Galactus. The fact that he helps people find planets, he helps Galactus find planets to destroy to protect his one home planet. That's a choice that's like an impossible choice to make. Well, you should feel that way when you read an Adam Post comic. You should be like, oh shit, that person's in a tough spot, that main character. I don't know what I would do in that situation. I guess I'd do the same, and I'd be responsible for billions of people dying. That's the kind of work that we have to produce. I will criticize all day long all of the garbage that main companies produce now. Some of it, like Brian Hitch, is freaking great. There's plenty of like great art here and there. There's some cool ideas and things like that, but there's no cohesion to any of it. There's no consistency. There's no, even when the work has been really great, when there's no overall feel to like, well, what does a Marvel comic look like? What does a DC comic look like? What's the continuity? Obviously for 50, 60, 70, 80 years of publishing, things are going to change over time. But within 10 years, there should be like, you don't have to reinvent the character 50 times in 10 years. And if you're going to tell a story, like I plan on doing probably at least a graphic novel a year for a given character, more if it warrants it and more if there's more story to tell. But why would you not... you have to plan out those 10 stories. Like you got to know where your character is going to go, and they don't do that at the big companies. And we do that, everyone does kind of their own thing, obviously, but that's part of editorial. We have to plan that stuff out carefully. Let me just see this thing about Coffin first. Coffin is Brian Polito's new company, which is hot as hell. Coffin offers good value proposition on many tiers, every campaign, far better than most crowdfunded books. True. Turnaround time is much faster. True. Two things should not be overlooked. Splatterguts. Yeah, I love your name, Splatguts. Brian knows how to publish books. Brian talks about how he publishes books. He gets most of the stuff done in advance. I will say I don't know so much about the writing in Brian's books. The visuals are very dynamic. Everyone knows the character Lady Death. To me, it feels like a lot of times it's the same title each time. It's sort of like Lady Death, violent extreme, and then it's Lady Death mega situation or whatever it is. But he's very good at delivering with expectations, and he's amazing with the variants. He's fantastic with the variants. Brian knows how to promote Zero. Sorry, I almost missed you. Are the new characters lacking something that the old ones had, or is it in the writing? Well, okay, so when we're talking about new characters, I'm not talking about Comicsgate characters. I'm talking about writing of, well, look, you can apply it anywhere you want to apply it. You can apply it to anything that I publish for sure, new, old, whatever. Everything has its limitations. But I'm not criticizing anything in independent comics. I'm really saying in mainstream comics, they have all the resources in the world. They have no excuse for not having coherent editorial, but except they don't even want coherent editorial. What they want to do is kill the male power fantasy. So they put out stuff that it's not to attract new audiences. It's not attractive. We all know it's not attracting new audiences, but we shouldn't pretend that it's propaganda either. It's not propaganda. They're not winning anyone over with that. What they're doing is they're taking every place that we could go to feel good or feel powerful, and they are killing it. They're making it so you don't have a man cave. You don't have a mental man cave. You can't go and enjoy this month's Spider-Man because they've done something destructive to it. You can't go and enjoy the Fantastic Four. You can't enjoy any of the titles that you could used to be able to rely on to collect and enjoy the Marvel Universe. God knows what the Silver Surfer's doing now. Hopefully it's good things, but you can't trust them to do the right thing by it. So the whole thing is you have to frame that poster. Oh yeah, the College of the Dead poster. Thank you, man. I actually have another College of the Dead pinup that I did of the unpublished, unreleased selfie cover. Oh my God, it's enormous. I have to put it up. I'm going to put that one up but I love this one. So maybe it's next to it or something. But thank you, man. I love that. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, everyone has to do what's important to them. I know the thing about me, what drew me into comics as a 12-year-old or whatever was Frank Miller's Daredevil and all the related characters, the ninjas, the relationship between Elektra and Daredevil, the fact that Elektra was so intimidating to Daredevil. Like, she had him wrapped around her finger. I mean, she's a killer. He's a hero. He's supposed to do something about that. He didn't do anything about that. Yeah, Alex Ruggles goes, you're right. Thank God for back issues. And you can get them digitally too. I've looked up all the digital, like Frank Miller, Daredevil stuff. But, the art was kind of simple. I went back and I'm like, Frank Miller, he wrote and drew this run of Daredevil. I loved it at the time. There's some wonky panels here and there. Like, all right, Elektra's looks like somebody that's not pretty in this panel or that panel. The hand was badass. Yep. So, I was looking at it like, this looks like he did at least 3 pages a day. I mean, this is some pretty, not a lot of detail, but very strong storytelling, like really strong storytelling and intense writing. But you look at all the relationships between the main character, Daredevil, and Elektra, and how, the conflicts in his relationship with Elektra, and then Bullseye's conflict with Elektra. I still remember things that Bullseye said to Elektra when he killed her. And I was like, damn. He's like, you're good, but babe, me, I'm magic. I remember that, almost literally word for word, 40 years later, 40 years later, almost 40 years later. That's writing. That's good writing. That's building up to a moment and figuring out this has got to resonate. I mean, I see us do it with art, and I see creators do it with art. I want to be able to do it with art, but I want to be able to do it with story too. Really execute, and that's why I want to hire someone else to do it, because there's people I know I feel like can do it. But the thing is, yeah, Elektra, Toots, Stick called, no. Yes. Sorry. Bullseye did call her Toots. He did call Elektra Toots. You're good, Toots, but me, I'm magic. And then he kills her with a card to the throat. When you write something, look, you can't write lines like that. And they say this about movies too, like, I'll be back and stuff like that with Schwarzenegger. That wasn't written to be a catchphrase. It just became a catchphrase. And they try to write stuff like that. It's kind of impossible to write pithy like that and know that. But it's not the line. It's the setup for the line. It's all the conflicts between Elektra and Bullseye, over all of those issues, culminating in oh my God, I can't believe he just killed her. And when he killed her, he also put her in her freaking place. It's yeah, you're Elektra and all that, but I'm Bullseye. I mean, I'm going to kill you now because, this is real life. It's a comic, but this is real life. It's it's you versus me. I'm done with you. And he just threw her out like trash. That's cold. You also don't see that kind of treatment of female characters because of SJW movements and stuff, even prior to this. If you ever see Sicario, it's a relatively recent movie, I think from 2015. And the female FBI agent is also treated kind of rough like that by the main killer. I wonder if it was Miller inspired. I don't know. But the FBI agent is kind of like a hotshot girl. And they just basically use her, threaten her, and throw her away at the end. And it shouldn't always be that way, obviously. But it should be like that, because you go into in her position. She was an FBI agent. She thought she was a hot shot. She was saying, well, things are like this and it's got to be like that. And these guys are listen, we're hard, cold killers. We work with the CIA. We're here secretly. We're doing a mission. Your purpose here is for cover because we're actually the CIA operating in the U.S. You're going to behave yourself. And if you're not, we're going to shoot you. So, do yourself a favor. Yeah. Benicio del Toro, he was great in that movie, Sicario. So the thing of it is you want to think about these scenarios and know where the characters are going to go. So I'm excited to work on it, and I have been working on it. It's just, it's a lot of work on one hand, and the other hand is like, I don't do it every day. It's not something that's like if you ask me to negotiate with a printer, if you ask me to find a fulfillment center that can ship out 10,000 comics in a week, I know how to do that stuff, and I can get it for a good price. So I've done it. But do I know how to tell you exactly, like, I'm going to write like Frank Miller and I'm going to execute at that same level that 12-year-old Adam Post was like so passionate about? I'm going to definitely do my best, and I'm going to use a couple of other comics editor friends. I'll show to some CG people, but for different things for different people. Clayton and I were talking about, Clayton and I were talking about Barton. We're talking about character design tonight. He gave me some good suggestions just to think about how to approach character design. That's his niche. He really understands that. So it's great to have that conversation with Clayton. Dan Frega also is brilliant in that niche. And Frega has helped me a little bit on the side, just pointing me like, hey, why don't you check this out? Why don't you check that out? Because he knows I've been working on this for a while. And, you ask different people different things. But for me, like, I want the writing to be really cool. And I want it to be the kind of thing that, I would resonate with somebody 40 years later. But to do that, the writing has to be absolutely structured and really economically done. Meaning, like, yes, you can have, I want really dynamic art. There's no reason to not have that. I've seen some well-drawn stuff recently, just, projects I backed and stuff like that. Everybody has their own aesthetic and their own design, but you have to know all this stuff going into the project. Like, you got to know what you want your coloring to look like, what you want your characters to look like, what you want the vibe to be inside the book, what you want the art to look like, how you want the story to flow, what conflicts there are going to be between the characters. There's so much to research and do. It's an interesting question. I have a thought on this. I'm going to share it because I actually haven't talked about it much publicly. And I don't know why people don't get this, but I want to tell people this. I don't know why Zach, you're the president. I don't know why Zach dropped the lawsuit. I've never spoken to Zach privately. I would. We just don't know each other. He's a good guy. But you're talking about the lawsuit that he had with Mark Waid, I'm sure. I don't exactly know why he dropped the lawsuit. He gave his explanation, and that explanation was fine with me. But you got to understand, this is guaranteed in his situation. In his situation, if he was to take that lawsuit to trial, he would have had to either go out of pocket for, invest his own money, or raise at least another $100,000 and maybe another $200,000. And because you got to pay the legal fees. The money he got him just so far. So he would have had to spend, oh, thanks, what about? Absolutely. Back the Mermaids. I do love the Mermaids. You'll see. It's a very cool book. But for Zach to continue with the lawsuit, for anybody to take a lawsuit to trial, it doesn't matter how much you spent up to that point. When you get to that point, you have to be ready to spend $100,000 to $200,000, and it depends on the opposition as well, because if they want to get cute, they can help you burn even more money. So Zach would have had to have the money together, whether it was his or raised from somewhere else, to be able to even proceed with it. Additionally, lawsuits are tricky. Lawsuits, it's a shot in the dark. Even if you're right, you could have a judge that doesn't think you're right. Or if you have a trial by jury, you could have a jury that doesn't think you're right. You could actually not only not win the lawsuit, but you could also lose all that you invested, and you can lose the other side's fees, which could be $200,000 or $300,000. So it's not even a matter of fairness. It's just a matter of, if I sue someone, if I sue myself, which I've been kind of rough with myself lately, and I've threatened myself over it, and I'm not listening to myself. But no, I'm not suing anybody or myself. I don't like lawsuits. Yeah, you've got to put in a ton of money. You risk the money that you put in. You risk the money that you could lose if the judge says, no, I think you're crazy, Adam. So then you could wind up losing and owing extra money. And then, it takes all this time and there's really no resolution. It's also the problem with a lawsuit is unless you're a lawyer, I guess, or you go through a lot of them, it's kind of annoying and stressful and constant anxiety. And if you ever had constant anxiety, that's what it feels like a lot. So it's so burdensome to do. Now, with respect to how you felt, Zero Depressive, that you felt betrayed, that Ethan raised money for it. I'm sure I shared it around sometimes, and Ethan championed it, and I don't know how Zach promoted it. I'm sure other people promoted it. You can't. That's a very difficult situation because it really felt like suing Mark Waid really felt like the right thing to do at the time. I don't think I was on Ethan's channel at the time ever. Around that time, I think it was earlier than my time, but I thought it was the right thing to do too. When I was aware of it, it seemed like the right thing to do. And as soon as it was done, there was some kind of a stoppage. It felt like there was accountability for the troublemakers. They stopped attacking people so much, and people were free to create a little bit. So it interrupted their momentum, and it allowed Comicsgate and some independent publishers to flourish. So you got to look at it and realize that was what was accomplished with it. But that said, I wasn't involved with any of the communication on the lawsuit. I did one video about it, like only stuff that I had read from like Bleeding Cool or something like that, or Bleeding Fool. And maybe it could have been communicated a little bit better, because the thing of it is if I raise money for a lawsuit or for a campaign or anything, if I take your money and I tell you I'm going to do something with it, I owe you a constant explanation about it, and I have to deliver what I promise. And I get obsessive about delivering what I promise. So we're remastering all of the Mermaids. That's caused it to now be a month late. That makes me feel like hysterical almost, to be honest with you. I don't like it. I don't like any lateness. I don't approve of it. I've done it before. It's not about other people's lateness. It's about my lateness. Don't like it. Don't like it. I have a lot of history, and my history is not that I promise and deliver everything perfect. I just want it to be that way now. I'm old. Like, why can't I deliver stuff, right? I promised it. The book was done. Why can't I deliver it? Because I wanted it to be more than it was. So it's going to be, and people will love it. And oh my God, Chris Renkowitz, Renkabot, love the guy, super talent. And his job on the layouts, his production. Everyone who doubted me, because a few of my friends in comics were like, Adam, you're nuts. It's not going to look right. You can't do that. I was like, well, I got to try. I mean, Chris Renkowitz says he can do it. They did not know who they were dealing with Chris Renkowitz. So again, big thanks to Chris. It looks great. And they admit it too. People who worked on the Mermaids before were like, okay, yeah, I didn't realize it would look like that. Because the thing is too, is like, I don't want to be known for not respecting my artists either. I don't want to know for not be respecting my backers. I don't want to be known for not, I'm not going for any of that. I'm doing what I say I'm going to do, because honestly, your reputation is currency. It's like free money. So why the hell would you not do that? Just do what you promise. Like that's my take for me. I'm in a limited world. I'm a limited scope. I'm a little guy. That's my thing. On the lawsuit, Fraud 79 says both sides lost something. Both got a little something. No one won, but I'm sure a few lessons learned either way. Yeah, it worked out. The lawsuit situation worked out. It just wasn't ideal. But, it's almost like whenever you go through the courts, what are you going to do? I mean, it's tough. It's not a winning situation. What about says this? Oh, yeah, Hex Harper. Just some guy. I didn't see his video. He does great videos, great channel. I'm sure whatever his take was excellent. And also Literature Devil. I have great admiration for my man, Literature Devil. He has me on sometimes, which is great. I love being on his channel. What about the mainstream has the courts on their side? This is why these people must be defunded or removed in general. Here's the deal about what to do, with publishing comics. What should we do? Back in the day, never mind back in the day. if what they're producing isn't good, if it's insulting and people don't like it, they can produce it. They can produce it at a loss. They can produce it at a profit. F them. Let's just produce better stuff. But that means the writing has to be as good as the coloring. You can't say like, well, the coloring's great. The writing's not as really good, but I'll get it better. No, we're not going to replace them. We're not going to have iconic characters that people are going to remember unless the writing is as good as the coloring, unless the lettering is as good as the writing, unless the art, at least from a storytelling standpoint, is as good as the writing. It has to be. It doesn't matter how many panels there are on a page. It's got to be good sequential art. What about it's got to be high quality? It's got to. You have to read the book and look. No one's perfect. None of what I do is perfect. It's got all kinds of flaws. The thing of it is, it's not about perfection. It's about knowing what our response. We're not producing vanity press. We're supposed to be producing stuff where we have a right to criticize others, right? You always have a right to criticize me. I'm always doing something wrong. But the thing is, if you want to be real about it and you want to be able to stand on what you're doing, then you're going to say, yeah, read my book. Read my book and compare it to the writing from the 1980s, don't compare it to current stuff. Compare it to Frank Miller's Daredevil. Compare it to The Watchmen. Compare it to, I don't know, what else was good? X-Men at the time? Compare it to that stuff. If you're doing something that is as good, is supposed to be as good as what other people's stuff was, that's our goal. That's not that I hope I produce stuff. That's my goal, is to produce stuff at that level, stuff that I saw in the 80s, and not just on an individual comic basis, but also on a basis that extends to other comics that I do. College of the Dead and the Mermaids were not intended to be in the same world. They probably won't be a part of what I'm doing. I might try to incorporate them in because you kind of could just do that. I'll see. But there has to be a wholeness to the editorial, to like what we're producing. It's got to be at a certain level where you could say like, yeah, this holds up. The reason that the 1980s books weren't colored the way that College of the Dead is colored and the way that our high-end independent comics are colored is because they didn't have computers doing that coloring. The technology was impossible. You couldn't have that for any amount of money. Image Comics had some very dynamic coloring early on. Some of the other indies had some sort of dynamic coloring. There was a company called Malibu Comics that had some dynamic coloring, not as good as the Image coloring. We had watercolor, Valiant had watercolor. This is the early 90s. Probably Image's coloring was the best coloring. It still wasn't that good compared to now. But so, of course, our coloring is going to be better. Of course, our lettering is going to be better. We have computers now. We have all the resources. We also have something to compare it to. And we have all the time in the world and the money in advance to produce it. So the challenge on me and the challenge on other independent publishers is to pick what we think was the best stuff. And if story isn't that important, you leave it out. But to me, that's what I remember. I remember not just story, but I remember the mood. I remember when Stick basically suicided, bombed himself so that he could kill the enemies in Daredevil's. Hey, it's Crazy Clayton. How's it going, Clayton? Not crazy. He's not crazy. He's a great guy. But I remember when Stick was, he killed himself basically so that he could wipe out all of the Hand that were threatening Daredevil and the rest of the team there. And I remember when he said to Daredevil, it's just a part of life is just the same thing as giving life is the same thing as taking life. It's just a matter of moving energy around. Something very close to that. But that's you got to write for that. Like you got to build that stuff up over time. Like here's was Daredevil's mentor character, who was a cool as hell character. By the way, if you ever want to know where Stick came from, yes, Frank Miller created him, but he is incredibly similar to The Way of the Peaceful Warrior, a book by a guy named Dan Millman. Another really good book, actually. It was a low-budget movie, too. But, oh, my God, the character's like the same as Stick. Frank Miller must have just been like, I'm going to completely borrow this character. That's fine. I'm sure I'll do the same thing with other characters that I really love from literature or whatever. But amazing similarities. But that's my mission. My mission is to set the absolute highest standard of what I can produce, which means I know how to make a comics universe with continuity, with actual continuity, where we know what happens this month, what happens next month, and what happens a year from now. And when the characters interact, it was intentional. And you can have some surprises, but we did that for my Triumphant Comics company. It was absolutely brutal to keep track of everything that was going on. I'm not going to do 8 comics or anything like that. I'm going to do much less. But I haven't even talked about my new project, but I'll talk a little bit about the new project. But there's no reason that it can't be plotted out where you've got continuity from book to book. There's no reason that the coloring and the story can all be at high levels. There's no reason the editorial can't have a common design and aesthetic from one book to the next. When Valiant was produced, Valiant 1.0, Shooter deliberately made the books like a fraction of an inch taller than standard comic size, so the comics would stand higher on the rack. What up, Dale? Dale A. Yo, Dale. Okay, so anyway, yeah, I'm doing the whole package. I'm creating a new comics company. I'm not going to draw a new company. Yes. The comics, it's going to be like its own thing where this is going to signify the new characters that I release, starting, of course, just with one book. Dale, I don't know. Make sure you click notifications, ring the bell, all that stuff. It's going to be a cool comic company name. I've kind of settled on it. I'm going to ask. I have 2 buddies that I love their logos. I'm going to hit them up about the logo and get that started, get the site started. But yeah, for me, it's going to have a feel of it's a comic book company. It's like what made comics magic for me in the 1980s. Now, another thing about comics and distribution, Polito has it right. Polito does crowdfunding, and he does a great limited edition 48-page book. It's his basic format. He actually does it with free shipping. I want to look into what exactly he's doing. But his entry level, last I looked, was free shipping for a 48-page graphic novel. Going Postal Comics. I like it, Murph. I like it. I might do it. That's the problem with mainstream comics. The writer's telling their story, not the character story. Yeah, the writer. Well, the writer. Yeah, well, that's what the value of editorial is. That's why, like, an editor-in-chief to me is something that's holy when it's done right. Like Jim Shooter was the last editor-in-chief, the real one of Marvel Comics. And there hasn't been one at DC. I don't care what Dan DiDio was doing. I don't care what any of these guys after were doing. A lot of these guys are nice guys, but sorry, that's not it. You dropped all the skills, all the principles from what made comics great in the first place. All the continuity, all the coherence, all of understanding what the character is about and only expressing it within that limitation. Limitations are good. Limitations aren't bad. Constraints are good. You build within the sandbox, make something great within the sandbox. You want people to suspend disbelief, then you need to let them know what to expect. When they know what to expect, you can surprise them a little bit, but also show them like, no, actually, I'm still in the sandbox. You just never saw a Daredevil with a mentor before. You never saw a Daredevil with a mentor before. We're going to introduce Stick. And Stick is going to do some cool stuff. And you're going to love Stick. He's going to sound like someone you never heard of before. And he's going to interact with Daredevil, who's in the middle of being in love with his college girlfriend, Elektra, who you'd never seen before either. So it's like you think about introducing these. But the point is, we haven't had an editor-in-chief of comics since Shooter left Marvel in the 1980s, which is, before a lot of people were born. That's what made this stuff magic back in the day. And it wasn't that Shooter's such a genius. He's was brilliant, creative, and hardworking, but he just followed what Stan Lee and the other guys were teaching him what to do. He innovated somewhat, but mostly this was the coherent storytelling the brand look, all this stuff was introduced prior to him, and it was deliberate. It's not freaking Random House where every comic looks different within a universe. What the hell is that? A universe that you can't afford to buy? You can't afford to buy all of them? Remember when Shooter, I met him a couple times after he got kicked out of Valiant. One of the things he told me was that Valiant was never supposed to have more than 20 ongoing series. That was the plan. I don't think it ever got to that. But before they kicked him out. And I was like, well, why would you limit it to 20? Because I was looking at like they were making a freaking fortune. They were making a fortune in just publishing and real money. Like they were making serious money, $1 million a month plus when he was kicked out. Clear profit, not sales, profit. And they were just blowing up. And what did he do? I was like, why would you limit it to 20? And he's like, and then we're going to lower prices. I'm like, what are you doing? But I was a kid. I didn't understand. He understood that it was readers who made the company happen. He understood that if he did more comics than people could afford, it would blow the whole universe. It would blow the whole loyalty to the company. He also taught me this it was great learning from him. It was right before he published Triumphant. I was hoping we were trying to raise money to work with him to publish a company. He found money before we found money when he started Defiant. He was funded by investors that I knew actually from Acclaim Entertainment, was a video game company on Long Island at the time. That was the guys I was bringing to the table. Acclaim later bought that. And it's a whole other story. He found other investors, a trading card company. But anyway, Shooter explained like, no, you don't want to do more comics than you can make sure you can control and that they're good. And like no one else would say a thing like that. Like no one else even think that way. I certainly didn't think that way. He wanted to lower prices because he wanted human beings. He wanted eyeballs. He wanted people to get into this stuff and continue to buy it. And he wanted absolute and total loyalty to it. They wouldn't even do, Valiant was a very popular company. People were very excited about Valiant. He would not do Valiant merchandise. No shirts, no posters. No, I would do them now. I wanted to do College of the Dead shirts, and I've been hit up for mermaid stuff and things like that. I kind of haven't gotten around to it. I'd do it, but he was like, no, we will do no merchandise because he wants people. He doesn't want toys. He doesn't want any of that. He wanted people focused on the comics. Focus on the comics. And you've seen what's happened since. Because every time when comics, it's kind of like Scott Rosenberg kind of ruined the business. He's a friend of mine, and a lot of people have had mixed results with Scott Rosenberg, but he sold Men in Black. A lot of people know him. It's not name drop. But anyway, he published the Men in Black comic, which got turned into Men in Black movie. And then a lot of people started looking at comic books for movies. And that's the problem. If you're going to be focused on the comics, you can't be focused on TV shows and movies and just lose, what is so important about making the stories and making the comics. TV shows and movies are great. I hope to do that stuff. I've had a couple of opportunities with stuff. I've had stuff optioned that we did in the past. But it's not really a focus for me. Adam Post Media Group I set up because that website I set up, and you can still go to it. There's stuff on it that's cool. But that was when I was on the board of directors of Platinum Studios, Scott's company. They did a Cowboys and Aliens movie, a couple of other TV shows. And it was great experience, learned a lot. Small public companies are a crazy thing. But in any case, I was on that board of directors, and he was like, listen, you don't really have a lot of street cred. You've published comics, but only I know that. You got to have a website or something, and we'll add you to the board. And it was fun. It was an incredible experience and a lot of fun. I was on it for like a year or 2 years. Cheap books and merch can be profits. Yeah, merchandise is, hey, Luis, merchandise is great. I believe in merchandise now. It's just kind of, and we should all be making merchandise. We have to make great comics without excuses. We have no excuses. I have no excuses. I've said it before. I don't belong, selling comics if I'm not passionate about the comics. And the stuff I'm doing, I'm very passionate about. This is going to be the stuff, and the thing for me too is like, I was saying this on Clayton's channel before. Comics is a publishing business, and publishing is a hit business, and we can't make it not be a hit business. Different books do better than other books. That's just the nature of it, and you can't exactly know how well something's going to do. So far, The Mermaids has done less than College of the Dead, and it'll probably continue to. But that's publishing. I mean, for me, it's so ingrained into me because I've dealt with it so many times. I mean, how many times have I offered a book to comic stores and gotten less numbers than I wanted? Like probably almost every time. That's the business. And then you get the numbers, and it's like, I like that. This is good. Make comics, not excuses. Very good. Who published the Men in Black comic? That was published by Scott's company, Eternity Comics, and then later his company Malibu, and then they were acquired by Marvel. Somebody has to buy these books. Yeah. Men in Black was a comic first. And unfortunately, the way Scott worked the rights deals, Scott got like, I think 99% of the money from the movie. But he did work for like 10 years to get the movie made. Men in Black 1 was a lot of fun. I didn't really like Men in Black 2. I don't even know if I saw Men in Black with the girl in it. It's just like to mix it up. Like, did I even see it? I don't think so. I guess I should probably see it. It's comic book publishing, tough business. Movies and all that, tough business. Publishing, tough business, guys. Crowdfunding is not an easy business. That's zombies, Adam. Comic crowdfunding is not easy. And nobody owes you anything. You got to make your, bones every day and make your success happen every day. But what I will say is anybody that would ask, like, why wouldn't you just do books that you love? Like Todd McFarlane did in the 1990s. Like Spawn did great. Well, yeah, you don't get to do whatever you want to do in life. You don't. Crowdfunding, it's incredibly great. But generally speaking, the opportunity to indulge whatever you want to produce is not reality. You can't do that. It doesn't work. Todd McFarlane, through sheer force of will, was able to break the Marvel Comics model. He was able to get himself, and timing also. If Shooter had stayed, McFarlane would never have been drawing like that on Spider-Man. Jim Salicrup permitted it. That was Jim Salicrup's decision, I think. I would have never permitted Todd to draw that way. He did a great job. It wasn't about him doing a great job. It was about creating an expectation for a character that was a company-branded character that only this one human being could do. They're in the character business. They're not some talent agency. Incredible opportunity for Todd McFarlane and for the other guys there. Incredible opportunity. And you should always take advantage of opportunity. But there was a Marvel look back in the day. Not when Shooter left. Nobody else protected it. So it became Random House. And if you're a great writer or a great artist, a great whatever, bring your stuff. Take out your portfolio. Show your work. You're going to get incredible work. I don't resent Todd McFarlane for it. I think he's a brilliant artist. It did just break what Marvel Comics could have been. But it's not Todd McFarlane's fault. You get an opportunity, you got to take it because it doesn't always come. I don't mean to not talk highly about Todd McFarlane. The guy is incredible businessman. I've heard a couple of sketchy things. I just heard Frege told us whatever. Long story short, he's a businessman. He's out for Todd. He should be. He's doing it right. He's got to elevate himself. And if he was to depend on Marvel Comics, where would he be right now? Certainly not a multimillionaire doing his own thing all the time. Hey, Brian. So I have mad respect for Todd McFarlane. I don't have his ability. I can't draw. A lot of things wrong with me. I'll make good someday. I'll do something right eventually. I'm egotistical, but there used to be a how to draw comics the Marvel way. that ain't the way Todd drew it. So yes, good for Todd, but losing Jim Shooter was terrible for Marvel. They lost all their discipline. And it wasn't just, allowing incredible, talented artists to really showcase their work, which is, you're not supposed to do that. Could you imagine you go to see a Pixar movie and it looks different, vastly different from other Pixar movies? Does that make sense? Would that make sense? It looks great. It's like, okay, oh, by the way, who's that artist? Just this one guy can draw it that way. Uh-oh, we're in trouble now. Yeah, you're in trouble. I would never produce a book that looked like that. Never. I have no need to. I don't care about you make a little money here. I wouldn't do that unless it was a standalone one-off thing, or unless I was doing it through a studio evolution. And interestingly, Mike Deodato, who's very anti-CG, crazy like that, but a couple of the guys in Brazil, Mike Deodato is one of them, Al Rio, who passed away, was another one of those guys, created a physical studio system where they had people that could draw like them. That's interesting. That's interesting to create a studio system where someone can come up with a Todd McFarlane look. Someone can come up and draw like Jim Lee. They can draw like Mike Deodato Jr., and they can give you a lot of it. But a company has to think about, Brian, there's a reason for it. A company has to think about, are you going to take a character made famous to millions and millions and millions of people, millions of all over the world, even by the 1980s, and media was limited. There were no movies, but everyone, like in every hut on the planet, pretty much know who Spider-Man is. And you're going to hire someone to draw that character in a different dynamic way and let them do it. Fine. Bill Sienkiewicz, same kind of thing with Elektra, but Elektra wasn't she wasn't Spider-Man. Spider-Man is the comic book character. It's not even Marvel's comic book character. It's the comic book character for all comic book characters, really of all time, because he's relatable as a teenager, because he has problems like I have problems. That's Spider-Man you're working on. You're going to let a showboating genius artist draw him in a way that you can't replicate, redefine who Spider-Man kind of like, what his aesthetics are, what he is, what the experience is to buy a Spider-Man comic. You're going to let someone come in and do that and just do whatever it is that they want and then go behind and then work on other things in the future, and you'll never be able to replicate what this guy did. And that's what Marvel did after Jim Shooter left. You can imagine he must have been holding the place together while he was there, Jim Shooter. So I love Todd McFarlane's work. I admire him as a businessman. Look what he did for toys. He brought the level up of toys like incredibly high too. But for evolution, you're going to make an omelet, you got to break some eggs. Marvel was one of those eggs. They were that good. He was that good, and his buddies were that good. Liefeld, I learned, not Field. Liefeld, very dynamic. No Todd McFarlane, but very dynamic, really creative, create a lot of cool stuff. This is where the obscure editorial comes in. Yeah, I mean, look, the truth of it is unfortunately a lot of our great artists, like Dan Franco worked at Image a lot, and Ethan Van Sciver was with DC. I know he had great relations for the most part with his people at DC, but this was most of the guys that we know in CG. Graham Nolan might tell it differently because he's worked since the 80s in comics, so he could tell you if they were dummies or if they were great at DC from back in the day. I don't know. But mostly they've had bad experiences with editorial because Shooter left, I think it was 89 or something, at Marvel, and they didn't even attempt to do what he was doing. And then the only person who was really like disciplined and focused on coherent storytelling was, again, Shooter at Valiant, where they had a studio of artists working. Really talented people. Barry Windsor Smith was there. Don Perlin was there. And Shooter was there. Joe Quesada got his start under Jim Shooter. Joe Quesada knows what good comics are. He's not trying to make them. Who can blame him? He's got millions of dollars. Like, it's not a focus of his. I don't know. I love comics. It's my name on Twitter, at Comics We Love. I really do. So, I mean, I remember the comics I read that had a really big impact on me. I remember those scenes. And it's hard to produce good comics. It's particularly hard when you don't, like, I have a vision for what I want, but executing on one of the tasks, like writing, without hardcore expertise on writing. I'm brilliant in high concepts. I just am. The Shooter complimented a couple. I have one you guys haven't really heard about, but Shooter did some development for me on some of my high concepts in the early 2000s, and some other stuff that I didn't create that I just purchased. And that stuff is, right now it's on a shelf. It's going to stay on a shelf. Hey, guys. But yeah, I've sold a lot of stuff based on my ideas. And that's fantastic. But it doesn't mean I can write. So I'm going to put all the work in. I'm going to work with a couple of professional comic book editors that I know really understand story and have worked with everybody else who's good. And if my stuff is not on, it's not cutting it for professional level, then I'll write as much as I can of it. And then I'll bring in someone to help and I'll pay them. That's what you do. But I'm not going to, the writing is going to be seen if you've seen both the books, you've seen College of the Dead. If you go to the epicmermaids.com, you can go to the campaign page listing and you can just look at the character descriptions for the mermaids. There's tremendous amounts of story in there. I'm not going to publish something where, because I'm writing it, the story is going to be substandard. It's not going to happen. I know what I want to do, but I'm not doing a vanity press project. It's going to be professional level work, or my contribution is going to be reduced to just my high concepts, and then we'll execute at a high level with other professionals that I know, because it's what's necessary. And the thing is, if you get interested in it, if the story really gets you, we'll be back. You'll be back for the next one, and you're not just going to back it because I'm funny, or you see me on one guy's channel or another guy's channel, or it's just a sexy girl. It's got to be more than, visually appealing. And I've gotten really, really solid feedback on all the writing for College of the Dead, and anybody that's seen the writing for the mermaids. Actually, Narwhal's commented about it. Von Klaus has commented about it. They've seen the 6-panel pages. Oh, thanks, guy from Redback. Yeah, you're going to like it. I don't know if it's possible, but I didn't even plan on streaming tonight. And look at this. I'm on for an hour and 20 minutes after being on with Clayton for an hour. Anything's possible. So if we're focused on it, we can do whatever we need to do. I'm happy that so many people were interested in this stream so far. And it makes me think, like, yeah, it would be kind of fun to video blog for who's ever interested, just kind of like the development of my new comics company. There's a lot of fun things that happen along the way when you do that. A lot of interesting things, being able to release the name. The story is going to go good in College of the Dead, I guarantee you. Book 3 is written. I got to get a little organized first, and then I can do College of the Dead 3. College of the Dead, spring break. Yeah, we're going to let you know, like, what happened. Facts are facts. All right, Brian, that I appreciate. Yeah, I think I will try to do, I'm going to think about it a little more, but by the time I think about it a little more, it's like, who even knows? You guys are awesome. You guys have great feedback. Hey, Sketch Therapy, good to see you, man. Mayfield, great to see you. Even great to see Brian Blevins, I have to admit it. It's fun to talk about making the stuff that you're making. And there's a lot of decisions to be made. Like, look, I'm going to tell you something right up front. Indiegogo only distribution, no good, stupid. I don't like it. For me, for what I'm trying to do. What's the problem? The thing is this. Look, there's no easy route for what we're trying to do. But if you want your stuff to be known, it's got to get in front of a lot of people. As many as possible. So the YouTube is important, but you need a website that is a functional website. And the function of the website should be to expose people to the comics that we're working on. So that's what my new company will do. It'll talk about the comics we're working on. It'll have videos that I do here, obviously. It'll have ways to sign up for email lists, social media contacts. It's going to have trailers for the mermaids and ways to get those books. But Indiegogo and crowdfunding, absolutely crucial. And those should always have special books, a special edition, a special printing. But we need to do like what Brian Pulido is doing so well. He's reaching out to people in comic stores. So we're not going to make a lot of money in comic stores. Nobody makes a lot of money in comic stores. Brian knows how to sell limited editions and things well. He's figured out how to make money in comic stores. If you look at Coffin Comics' listings, I've looked at a lot of comic solicitations in the past. I can tell you by what he's offering, he's making anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 a month clear profit minimum on what he's soliciting, and potentially up to 20 grand a month clear profit. How is he doing it? First of all, he's freaking smart, and he's done it before. So have I. We know how to do this stuff. It's some limited edition, some packaged editions. The issue with comic stores is this, though. This is the main point. It's not like, oh, Indiegogo is wrong. No, it's not wrong. You go there. It's a market. You go there first. You let people know, like I'm saying right now, my new stuff, I'm intending to offer cheapo editions like Brian is doing so cleverly, $3.99, $4.99, whatever. You take your 48-page graphic novel, you break it into 2 issues. New covers, available if people want them to other backers and supporters at the website, customers, available to them too. And what's the function of that? What's the purpose? Why would you even sell it if you're only going to make a couple $1,000s? Well, it's very simple. Think like Pulido. You want more people backing your campaigns. A lot of people go on YouTube. Absolutely true. But there are hundreds of thousands of people that occasionally go to different comic stores. I'm not saying that every comic store has 1,000 regular customers, but any comic store that's been around for more than a year has interacted with and may have email addresses even for 1,000 or 2,000 people. Some of them have email addresses for 5,000 or 10,000 people. One crazy comic store, one little comic store. So what does Pulido do in those comic stores? Look at his solicitations. What he's doing is he's offering the single editions plus limited editions, collected, whatever. But he's got a signed edition of a collected comic that's the same price as an unsigned edition packaged with a certificate of authenticity. Why? What's the point of that? How can he make money on that? It's easy. Because he has people that want his signature going into those stores because they see it on a shelf. It looks special. So a comic store can buy 5 of those or 10 of those times 100 people. So now there's 500 people spending like $10 retail to buy a signed copy with a certificate of a certificate of authenticity. Look how special it is. It's so special. Yeah, it is. It's special. And what's it got on it? Oh, it's got his website. It's got his email list. I'm on Brian Pulido's email list. I recommend you sign up for it for Coffin Comics. You're going to get pelted with constant emails about his campaigns, about his social media group on Facebook with the Fiends, about his next campaign, Muerta Death #4, whatever the heck he's publishing. And it's all exciting stuff that he's doing. He's doing a statue. He's got this toy. He's doing all it. The way to do that is you start with what you're doing. You build on your base. You build on your distribution base by getting the comics out to stores. It's necessary. There's another thing you can do, and I know Brian's done it for years. I don't know if he's doing it currently. Foreign translation editions. We don't get paid a lot for that. A French version. I sold Italian rights 10 years ago to a book that I published, 500 Things My Cat Told Me. And, I was shocked. They contacted me. I had never done foreign rights before. Surprising, because we had stuff we could have done it with. Just didn't have the connections for it. This is interesting. I bought the collected trade hardcover of all his Lady Death. I didn't even know the product existed. Who has the time to even follow everything Brian Pulido is doing? He's fantastic with it. But mostly he's just consistent. And it's the principles of you produce a good product, make sure people know that they're getting what they're getting, make sure it's highly commercial. It's got to be something people want. It can't be a vanity project. The writing, I don't know if the writing is any good. I haven't read it. I've asked a couple friends. I've not heard great things. but the writing, but it is what it is. It's like a Vampirella book. Like, it's fine. It's good. It's sexy. So there it is. It's good. So people that like it, buy it. It's good. Probably, the writing could be better, obviously. You execute at a higher level if you want to. And then you get more people that buy it just for the writing. Even better. But anyway, you execute, you deliver the book, and then you offer the books to stores. Even if you only sell, it doesn't matter what you sell, as long as they'll carry it, as long as Diamond stays in business, which it could be maybe. Can't guarantee a store is going to carry it, but you just make it as appealing as possible. I've sold so many comics to stores. It's pretty damn straightforward. And stores always need more stuff to sell. So that's what I'm doing. I'm focusing on my character. My character is a female assassin. She's going to have a mentor. She's going to have an enemy she's fighting with. It will be something that you feel like, all right, this is similar genre-wise. It's not going to be like some genre-breaking thing. It's going to be like fun, sexy, dynamic, written by me. She's going to have a very cool mentor. That's a high standard I want. She needs a mentor. You don't just get born an assassin. It don't work that way. Somebody's got to show you the ropes. Thanks, Hex. That poster is sexy. You're sexy, Sketch Therapy. Let's admit it. You are. Yeah, the mentor is going to be cool as hell. And then she's going to have an enemy she deals with that's going to be cool. And there's going to be another character that's an anti-hero who I think is going to be a very cool, iconic character. And the thing is not to have like 75 characters in it, but if you think of anything good, I think of Daredevil's, Frank Miller's Daredevil run. That's really good. I mean, I still think about that. You had Daredevil, you had Elektra, you had the Gladiator, you had Kingpin, Bullseye, Stick, Stone, Claw, the other ninja dudes. There's a hell of a lot of cool characters. I don't know who Stone is. I liked Stone. He's this white guy, ninja guy in a white suit. Manslaughter. It's not the name, but I like it. I like it. I think I have something iconic. We'll see. Yeah, it's good. It is good. I've got a heads up from some cool people. Anyway, we've got to have cool characters. The Gladiator, he had his own thing. He was not like Bullseye, and Bullseye wasn't like Daredevil. And Bullseye was committed. That's why, Bullseye is like, listen, I'm going to kill you with anything, with a card, with a pencil. It doesn't matter. Bullseye was John Wick before John Wick existed. Cool as hell. Stupid costume, but still it worked, and it was great. In any case, we need all those characters, but they're not all going to be in a first book necessarily, but some key ones. Will it be like Quentin Tarantino style? Interesting. Well, I like what he did with Kill Bill. I like the revenge story of Kill Bill. And I like the ability to kind of give it so much purpose for him, that character, to go and kill all those characters. I wasn't thinking of taking it from that standpoint, but there'll definitely be a lot of action and violence. And then as far as flashbacks go, I'm going to avoid that or out of content, out of time sequence. I'm going to avoid that too as much as possible, because I think it's very hard to follow. And you have to really know what you're doing. And wow, Quentin Tarantino really did it with Pulp Fiction. It's amazing with the stuff he did. But geez, I mean, it takes a lot of confidence. Yeah, Kill Bill was fantastic. But why can't that character, I can have a character like that. It's not going to be exactly the same character. But, all these characters have to have reasons for being. They have to have, and when you start to really take it apart and you look at it, there's so much that we have the privilege to be able to do. It's great that a lot of people already know who I am, and they know I deliver. And no one has gotten to see what's inside fully the deep, dark mind of Adam Post and what I'm trying to accomplish. But I'm going to say this too, I want to raise a lot of money on all my campaigns, but it's not my full-time responsibility is to keep my promise to produce a really solid book that I write and that's delivered as promised on time. If it's late, it's late, but I'll do everything I can to make it on time. And to have it be meaningful, to have a really like a good story that I'm not going to be embarrassed to show to other friends that I have in comics that are from like the old school. It's got to be good by a high standard. It's just got to be. Otherwise, there's no point really doing it, because honestly, you can make some money publishing comics, but it's not a lot of money unless you're really doing a lot of comics. There's an acquaintance, I guess is the best way to put it, of mine, who publishes a lot of comics, Everett Hardso, on Kickstarter. He has multiple companies on Kickstarter, and he's very successful with it. And he's very good with movie deals, and he publishes a lot of them. And I may ultimately do something like that. It's just, the thing of it is if what you're trying to do is an idea, like, all right, it's sort of like what I'm doing is not like Kill Bill. What it's sort of like Kill Bill. There's a girl who's a killer and she wants revenge. She's going to go kill these enemies. So make it like Kill Bill meets, what would I do? I don't know. Kill Bill with a shitload of ninjas in it, though. Kill Bill with a shitload of ninjas. I know enough professionals that I can, I know enough professionals in comics that I could have one of the best written comics in CG, not debatable, not by me, written by a professional, well within budget, creative team, artists, colorists, dynamic, everything, lettering, all done, easily within budget, easily do decent numbers, more than cover the costs, and just pick up the phone and that's it. They're waiting for work from me. They know me. They know I pay. They're happy to do it. And all I'd have to do is give them that sentence. And then I would look at proposals of things as they would come in, decide if I want to do it or not, if I think it's good enough. I could do that. And Everett does that. Everett Hart, who did Razor, he's doing that now on Kickstarter. He's writing and doing some of the creative part, but he's clearly putting out a lot of content. And the idea of it is let me get the IP going. I mean, it's kind of, from a publisher's point of view, you know what people are doing. And I admire it. I think what he's doing is great. I'm not exactly looking to do that, though. I'm looking to do stuff where the character it absolutely will be memorable. It's done by me, and it's not handed off to other people to execute on. But it's tempting as hell. Hey, Mr. Yanofui. Good to see you, man. Good to see you. Haven't seen you in a while. Yanofui. I love that name. It's not the real name, though. Yeah, but so that I want to see, I know what I want to see, and what I want to see, parts of it have been done around Comicsgate. Not yet. They're not going to be done if I don't do them, because it's what I'm passionate about. There's nobody else in Comicsgate that's passionate about exactly what I'm passionate about. And that's the way it should be. You know, people are passionate about doing their own things, and they have their own goals and stuff they want to do. But I see what Brian Pulido is doing. It's very straightforward. And he has $300,000-$400,000 campaigns. You don't need $300,000 or $400,000 to essentially do what Brian Pulido is doing for Lady Death. You don't. And the writing could be better. And I would actually defy you to even tell me, like, what's Lady Death? What's the story? What's the background of the character? Good night, Hex. I don't know what it is. I know it's good and it sells a lot of comics and it's visually exciting. So Brian is a genius creator and is a genius marketer, and a very disciplined and brilliant publisher. So, I mean, when we're publishing comics the way we were back in the day, and again, it's like an old guy throwback, but when we're publishing back that way, you have a very, Don can tell you too, and maybe we'll get Don on to talk publishing. Don Chin. You have to be very good at pattern recognition to be able to survive and see what works and what doesn't work. You have to be able to guess how everyone else is doing. You can get some sales figures. You know what their costs are. You look at their titles, the format, the issue numbering, the response from the market, just general buzz, and then essentially a feel for like, okay, is this good or is this not good? How well is this doing? That's a skill that you pick up. I used to do as many as 60 titles a month that I would come up with the idea for the titles. Some of it was like number 2, and some of it was just like Hank Aaron, biography, go. Some of it was more complicated. But, we used to do that every month for years in the early 90s. And I'll tell you, that's you just develop a skill set for it after a while. So yeah, I'm looking at what Brian's doing. It's brilliant, and it's the right way to do things. Iconic single character, crowdfunded, totally focused. Make it something that you're excited about. Brian's energy level is off the hook. He's fantastic that way. Very disciplined, very hardworking, great talented guy, and good reputation too. And ships his campaigns as promised, like great example to follow. And, you just do your version of it. But the truth of it is you don't need that kind of money to have really successful books. And also too, like when you're starting something in publishing, you don't expect to have massive numbers. It's great if it happens, but it's just in business, it just doesn't normally happen. The thing is sometimes great things happen, but you have to be understanding that, look, really, in reality, you have to get in the game. It was funny because my friend Kirk, known each other for forever from the Personality Comics days. And I would talk about publishing comics again, and Kirk would talk about publishing comics again. And Kirk got there ahead of me, and Everett got there ahead of me. We were all like from back in the day around the same time and publishing again. Crowdfunding is what brought us back. Crowdfunding is what brought Brian Polito back to publishing. It makes publishing infinitely easier. But like Kirk and I always talk about too, like when we're publishing, I'm not Brian Polito, and Kirk's not Brian Polito, and I'm not Kirk, and so on and so on. We're all our own guys. You have to do what's right to your strengths. And that's why, like, even for tonight, all right, I said some things tonight I wouldn't normally maybe have said on other people's streams or whatever, just because maybe like, there's a different mentality about, okay, writing is as important or even more important than art or whatever. Everyone has their own opinions or whatever it is. But look, we have to be what we are, be focused on what we're doing, do the kind of stuff we want to do. I created College of the Dead from nothing. I created the Mermaids, an entire world of mermaids that it ain't Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is a whole other different thing, but it could be an island on Game of Thrones. It could be an island, but a section on Game of Thrones in 2 seconds. An entire self-contained little mini mermaid world. I did that collaborating with my creative team. We did it for less than 10 grand. It took a couple of years, but that's miraculous. It's not easy to do that. I'm very good at coordinating, but if I was to go and try to write all that myself, it would never have gotten done. Because it's a great idea and I have people passionate involved with it. But you have to understand, like, you don't have to do everything yourself. If you want to write something and you're in a position to seize it and be like, no, I'm going to write it myself, like, and grab it. I'm going to control it. I don't care if I'm the best writer. It's just mine. I want to do it. I want control of it. Like, okay. But part of the reason why I have really good relationships with creative people is I let them put part of themselves into stuff. In the case of the Mermaids, everybody contributed a lot to it. We all did it together. Zero Depressive says, I wonder if I would be proud of myself after making comic. I'm proud of you now. Look, it's hard to wake up every day. It's hard to do everything we have to do every day. I don't know if the depressive is related to depression or anything else like that, but that's a different stream. But what I would say is, man, it's just a miracle to be alive, right? It's a miracle, maybe you need to read that book. Look up Illusions by Richard Bach and look up Jonathan Livingston Seagull. The highest Adam Post recommendations for whatever that represents. Jonathan Livingston Seagull is easy to read, faster, and Illusions. I wouldn't bother with his other books right now. It's really funny because he had these insightful, fantastic books. They're short, they're to the point, they're spiritual. And then he met a woman and he married her, and he was like, all right, I have to explain how we fit together. And he wrote this enormous book called, I think it was Bridge Across Forever or something like that, with the wedding rings on it or something. And it was like, it's a little bit harder for him to kind of execute on that. It's very hard. Relationships change. People change. It's just reality. Oh, Zero Depressive was just saying. Yeah, Zero, check it out though, man. Hail to that indeed, my brother. Check it out. Check out Richard Bach, guys. He's so freaking talented. There was a terrible movie made about one of his books or whatever, but that guy Richard Bach actually inspired another author who was probably my absolute favorite author. This guy Eliyahu Goldratt, who wrote a book called The Goal, which is about systems analysis. But it's really about self-empowerment. It's a beautiful book. I'm going to have to do videos about that. Incredible whole thing. If you're curious about that, look up Theory of Constraints. It's a little off, but it's interesting. If you're interested in something, like because Adam's interested in it, you check that out. It's pretty damn cool. So yeah, that's my plan. I'm going to launch a comics company. I know how to do that. I've done it before. I'm going to have a cool as hell logo because I know what I want, and it plays really well into my company. Ooh, give me some schooling. This is from Tungsten. I love Tungsten. Tungsten is like a backbone in CG. Absolutely. Tungsten says, discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. You have to have discipline. You don't have, I'm finding too, even more so, guys, is you have to have milestones. Like milestones, mini goal. Like long-term goal. When you're an Adam Post long-term goal, Zero Depressive, look up The Goal, the book The Goal by Eliyahu Goldratt, Israeli guy. Freaking genius. And then I'll keep sending you more and more stuff about it. You have to, all right, Adam Post goal. I need a palace back in Sarasota where I used to live in Florida. I loved it. No small house. It's going to be a palace. Huge. That's a goal. Soon? I don't have a date on that one yet. Pretty soon. Maybe 2 years-ish. I'll work on it. But a long-term goal is great. You've got to have milestones. So, and they have to have deadlines too. But you also have to be careful. Like you can't just start doing stuff. So the reason I don't have a logo yet for the new company is I have a little bit more planning to do, website stuff. Goldratt looks interesting. Oh, he's genius. Check him out on YouTube too. Oh my God. Fantastic guy. And any wisdom I have is from experience from publishing comics and being self-employed, and this guy Goldratt. I just sucked up all his wisdom. Incredible. Deltaverse Comics. Hey, Alex. I just discovered David Goggins, definitely a life changer. Interesting. I never knew that guy. Yeah, maybe I'll do a video every now and then talking about books. I think I should blog the creation of the next major comics book company, the Adam Post comic book company. Yeah, I know. I'll tell you, it's the opportunity with crowdfunding is incredible, but I do have a name, but I want to release it like kind of with a logo. And it's so funny because it suits me really well, but it's not it's not wacky. It says like all the right things. It's very cool. Everything is good. Everything is going to be very cool. I'm going to say too, like on the art, absolutely dynamic. And at least on the level of what Miller was doing for Daredevil, which actually is not all that great. Now that I go back and look at it, but the storytelling is fantastic. And the storytelling should be fantastic. Every panel should really contribute to a moment on the page. And you can do that. You just have to pay extra attention to it and collaborate with the creators. But I was saying before, like, oh my God, like I know a lot of great creative people. So I can put together a very professional project in a very short amount of time The only reason I have 6-panel pages is because my books were designed for digital and print. So they were designed, that was the format. It wasn't like, I don't know how to make pages with a lot of panels. I had Adam Polina doing Chromium Man for me. He did layouts that I approved. No, he did layouts that Kirk approved for me. It was beneath me to approve them because that wasn't my job. That was Kirk's job. He did it. He's excellent. So yes, we're going to do dynamic panels. We're going to do very cool art. And I'm going to try to bring in some people too from outside CG, some OG gangster friends, which just basically means like some other guys, special guys for covers and things like that, who I haven't worked with in a few years, but we're friends on Facebook and stuff like that. And we've talked about doing stuff. I don't know how they feel about the CG thing, but basically, of course I'm CG, but I'm not, I'm not an artist, I am going to write, but my focus has got to be the company brand. Just like Ethan is great with promoting All Caps Comics. I think John's company is Secret Door. And we have to build something that's going to last for a very long time if we're going to take this stuff seriously. And I wouldn't put the time into writing or anything like that. Or honestly, as I was saying on the other stream, the execution risk of writing. I don't hire freaking unknowns to work on my material. Why the hell would I do that? Why would I hire someone to letter that's never lettered before? Why would I hire an artist, even if they're really good? Because the thing is, it's no disrespect to the talent. Character designs are one-off. It's fine. But sequential art storytelling, you got to prove that you can do it and that other people have paid you to do it first. And again, everyone deserves a shot. And I've had years of giving people their first shots. But we're talking about like everything has to work. Everything's got to be on time. It's got to be within budget. You have to execute at a high level. You have to add value to the storytelling. You want me to do it with my script? The biggest inexperienced person on my projects is going to be me, which I'm not totally comfortable with. So we'll see how it goes. But if I don't feel like the quality is there, I'm getting pulled. I'm not going to stand for it. I'm not doing vanity press projects where you guys back it just because you think I'm funny. Bottom line, stuff has to be at a level, So it's a female assassin. I am going to have a lot of very cool stuff going on. There will be continuity. The character, you're not going to have to like buy multiple comics to understand what's going on in the story. Everything's going to stand alone. But like, for example, if I have a very cool mentor in the book, and if you're going to have a mentor, why would you not have a cool one? I mean, and they have to be cool for their own reasons. Not someone who's made of ice, just maybe no ice. He's going to be cool. He's going to be an interesting character. So why not have that cool character have a history? Like they need a history, and then they need a future. And of course, they're going to have their own conflicts in their life. They're going to have conflicts with the main character. That's a normal thing to do. But they can't be generic. It's got to be cool enough that you say to yourself, like, why the hell could Stick from Daredevil not have his own? It's not going to be like Stick, but why could Stick not have his own book? I would love to see like Frank Miller have done a 48-page book just on Stick and the characters related to him. We're going to be like three little Fonzies. But no, we're not going to be like Fonzies exactly. No. Oh, be cool like Fonzie. That is, yeah, that's a Quentin Tarantino thing, I think. Very cool. Will it be called He, She, Return of the Warrior? No. I would be ripping off Billy if I did that, and I would never rip off Billy. Anyways, I've repeated myself, but yeah, I'm 100% down with Comicsgate. I'm 100% down with crowdfunding. No one has a right to be on anyone else's platform. It doesn't matter who you know or what you've done or whatever it is. You're a guest if you're a guest on people's platforms. I'm focused on, my characters and my writing and my platform. I'm happy to be on other people's platforms. I was just on Clayton's. I had a great time there. I love going on Lit Devs. Frege is a lot of fun. I've been on Frege with Frege a while. Adam Friended, RT Bear, all these gangsters, all other cool people. RGE I haven't been down with for a while, but I'll do that in a second. But I think also it's better to not be aimless on streams. I think it's a good thing to be like, look, this is what we're working on, and you can always joke around and have fun and talk about, news and current topics. But I think it's a good idea to entertain and be fun. But let's talk about building something. Let's actually really build something, and something that you'd look at the art and the story and say, yeah, this is like something that this could have existed. This is good enough to have been at Shooter's Marvel. When Jim Shooter was editor-in-chief at Marvel, the story was good enough. The art was good enough. The storytelling was good enough to be there. To me, that's the standard. If you can't meet that standard, it's not good enough for my new company. I can't tell you the name yet. I'll tell you the name soon, but that's the level I want to function at. That's bottom line. Yeah, you know what? Zero Depressive. I did want to get something off my chest. And the thing is mostly what I wanted to do was say, because Clayton was even asking me on stream, he's like, did you have like a falling out, or did you, with Comicsgate or with Ethan's channel? It's like, there's no falling out. But anyway, I wanted to talk about it. But yeah, I'm not part of Ethan's show. If Ethan invites me on his show, I'm on his show if I'm around. It would be awesome. It'd be a lot of fun. Always fun on his show. But I think, Ethan was clear enough with me, very direct and great to deal with. He'd like to see me really creating my own stuff that I'm passionate about. And then honestly, look, I am passionate when I collaborate with a team and I've delegated all this stuff. It becomes not my project almost anymore, because I've let too many other people contribute. And I think that Ethan's channel in particular, the fuel for Ethan's channel, it's not about SJWs. It's about the passion for the work that people are creating, which is why you could look at Charlie's London and be like, well, she hasn't done comics before. She's doing a comic now, but she hasn't done it before. But Charlie's London is like the soul of what Ethan's doing on his channel, because it's about someone who's so passionate about the subject matter and about the project and about comics, like all of those things all at once. Of course, she should be on Ethan's channel talking about her project all the time. Of course, she's a fantastic fit for that. She's ideal for that. And, but everybody just has different experience. So it's everybody loves everybody. It's just like, it's a business too, and particularly when people are creating a vibe on their channel, like what does it feel like to experience a channel? It's very unique to that creator. And if I'm a creator who's like a Charlie's London, such a great example, who's very passionate about the subject matter, about the comic that she's producing, who needs the money to fund it the way she wants to. I don't, that's why I can't tell people honestly, like I have very low flexible goals, because I don't need the money to produce the book. And if I say I'm going to produce a book, I'm going to produce a book no matter what. I'm going to produce it. I can have extra things and stuff and stretch goals, but if it's me, I'm not going to say I'm going to produce a book and then not produce it. And my goals are going to be low, because I'm not going to need that much. They'll be a little higher with some of the new material I'm producing probably, but it's still going to be like a relatively low goal. Leg kick. Yes. Let me steal all your ideas. Send me your idea on Facebook. I'll give you compliments if nothing else. John says new company could be Eyebrow Comics. Yes, I have the eyebrow market covered. I'm the anti-mailing when it comes to eyebrows. So I am always representing in the eyebrow department. All right. Guys, you guys have been a lot of fun and amazing. It's been a lot of fun to talk. I'll try. I will definitely give it a shot, like kind of blogging about progress on what we're doing. And some of the guys I'm working with, at the extent I can get into talking about it. But yeah, it's going to be a female assassin character. She's going to be kick-ass. She's going to be sexy, as all characters should be. It's funny, like Javier, he's fantastic. We did the College of the Dead covers and interiors. I've always telling him like, make the boobs bigger. And like, he goes through like 2 or 3 versions and I'm finally like, all right, stop. It's enough already. But he's so great at it. Okay. Zebra Press says, everybody does what they can. Yeah, we ought to. I don't see one reason why we shouldn't. There's a balance in the eyebrow force. Yes. The eyebrows force balance has been returned. I got a haircut, so I look fantastic. Good luck with my future projects. Guy from Redback, thank you. I will let you know what they are. I'm sure you're going to like them. You're going to see it's going to be more cool stuff. Oh, you saw a show about the old indie days. A lot of these books are gems and you have institutional knowledge. Yeah, thanks. That's an interesting phrase. Most people don't know the phrase institutional knowledge, but things that people are doing wrong in CG, it's institutional. It's generally like a lack of institutional knowledge. We're not the first people to ever make and sell our stuff. I know the answers to most of these questions, but I'm nobody's dad. And if people ask me a question, they know who they are. I give them the answers immediately. Names you know, some names you don't know. If they want to know, I tell them. If they don't want to know, they work it out on their own. Female assassin. She is for hire. Cool. Yeah, we'll recruit you in. It'll be on the campaign. Institutional knowledge is a real thing. You know, I mean, I continue to make numerous mistakes, but there's some mistakes I'll never make ever again because I made them 20 years ago, and they're production oriented and budgeting mistakes and things like that. And everybody's learning. Everybody is doing the best they can, and we're all getting there together. All right, guys. Hey, I have a great idea. Subscribe to the channel, click the bell for notifications. If someone wants to listen to me go on and on and on and repeat myself quite a bit, feel free to share this stream with them. And if they're like, hey, Adam, is he still doing this or what's he doing? Like, this is what I'm doing. And this is what I believe entails great comics. You produce that book and you put it in front of a 40-year-old Jim Shooter in the 1980s. And he says, yeah, this is good enough for Marvel. This is good enough for Epic Comics. I see where you're going here. You execute well enough. Good. That's my level. And I think that's the level that we got to be at. That's where it belongs. Anything less than that, it's not as good. I'm going to do everything I can to meet that standard. I might fail. Actually, what's funny is I haven't talked to him in years, but I could call Shooter and be like, here's my project. Is it good enough for you from the 1980s? And he'd probably be like, no, get out of here. Don't bother me, kid. But he might be generous enough to tell me what he thinks. But to me, that's where we got a point, and we should all make a lot of money, but it's not about just the money, obviously. And nobody in Comicsgate is just about the money. We got to hit the high standard. It's not stealing. If you give them to me, yes, just tell me all your ideas. I will ruin them. No, that is cool. I appreciate that leg kick. All right, guys, you have a great night. Feel free to share the stream. Like the stream, subscribe to the channel, click the bell for notifications. You're going to see some amazing stuff come from me that you're going to say, hey, that's pretty damn good. Because that's how we play, my brothers and sisters, and everybody else in between. All right, guys. Jim Streeter has a 4-hour YouTube stream. I haven't seen it. Worth looking at. Very cool. Worth looking up. If I find it, I will link to it. Peace, Adam, and D. Peace to all you. I really appreciate you guys. You were present. Great to see you. What about Tara Wombat? All yous guys. Have a great night. Much more coming soon. Back, Adam, indeed. Thank you. What about? Have a great night, guys.